starting our thru-hike in the snow. Left it in the snow and entered in the snow going southbound. Update for week 25, days 169 through 171. So day 169 had another 0 day in Lake Tahoe because like I was explaining in week 24, we were waiting out a snowstorm. So just had a nice lazy day, went in the spa, and just kind of got our pack situated because at that point we were required to carry bear canisters because we're going into the Sierra southbound. So just kind of like packing up our packs, and I really wanted to bake because I'm an avid baker and I hadn't baked anything for like 5 months because I had been on trails. So I baked some brownies and a couple other things, so that was nice. And my trail family and I binge watched the Great British Baking Show, which was really good. So anyway, we just had a nice lazy day and got prepared for the next day to hike out in the snow. So day 170 had another kind of like lazy morning and didn't end up hiking out until about 2:30 p.m. So while it was kind of a light dusting of snow in South Lake Tahoe, when we drove back up to where the trail was, the snow was actually pretty deep. So we were all like, got dropped off and kind of like looking at each other like, is this the best idea? So we decided we'd keep going, just try to hike through the snow. So we did. We ended up hiking 9 miles. And right as it was getting dark, we managed to find some dry spots, luckily, to camp on, which all going up to that point, I didn't see very many dry spots to camp on at all. So we actually got lucky finding this like little dry spot to camp on. So kind of brushed some snow away because we had to fit 3 tents on this little site by a really pretty lake. So got set up, and as the sun was going down, it got really cold, and my feet were soaking wet because we were hiking through snow. So while my feet were wet, they were actually still warm when I was hiking. But then when I kind of stopped to like set up my tent, you're not moving as much anymore. So my feet started to like freeze. So I was like, oh my God, I gotta hurry up. So I got in my sleeping bag as quick as I could and just like dried my feet off, and left my shoes and socks outside and everything. And took like an hour for my feet to even like thaw out, and it was a painful process too. And so I was like, oh my God, I hope I'm not getting like frostbite right now or something. So I was kind of worried about that, but Steve was telling me to like rub my feet and like put my puffy around my feet and rub it and everything, so that helped. But it took a long time for my feet to get warm, and so I was like, oh my God, I'm like not having fun right now. And I was so cold too that I didn't even want to like make dinner. And that's only happened a couple times on trail where I was like so miserable I didn't even want to put in the effort to like get out of my sleeping bag to make dinner, or even like get my arms out of my sleeping bag to like use my stove. So I didn't end up eating because I was just so cold and miserable. And the night was a little rough. It probably got down to like, I heard maybe 11 degrees, which is the coldest I've ever been on trail ever. Like even barring the PCT, I've been cold before in the Southern California mountains. I think like 18 degrees was the coldest I'd ever camped in, and it was dry. There was like no snow. And so this is the coldest I've ever been in, and everything was wet. So needless to say, day 71, woke up after a rough night. I didn't really sleep very well because I was cold, and luckily, one of my trail family members, Steve, has a way of like cheering people up. So we have this kind of like inside joke about the song on the Armageddon soundtrack, the Steve Tyler, the Aerosmith, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. We have this running joke about that song and how like intense it is and everything, and dramatic, and epic love song or whatever. So we all three just like laugh about that song. Anyway, so he like turned that song on really loud to like wake us all up. So that was funny. But I still was just like not in the best place, I guess you could say, because I woke up and my shoes were frozen solid. My socks were frozen solid. My food was all frozen in my beer canister. My water was frozen, so I couldn't drink anything. So I was a little bit stupid about how I set myself up that night, because I should have wrapped up my water in something to kind of insulate it, which Calzone had the foresight to do. And so her water was still liquid in the morning. So I just didn't, I was at the point the night before where I just like wanted to get my sleeping bag, and I didn't want to move after that. I just wanted to get warm, and then I didn't want to get out. So I just left all my stuff out, which was so dumb. So needless to say, when I needed to like go to the bathroom in the morning, I couldn't do that right away because I had to like fit my feet in my shoes to thaw them out, and that's not an easy thing to do, as I discovered. So anyway, finally like did all the stuff I needed to do in the morning. Still didn't eat anything because I was miserable, and finally packed up and headed out to get warm. And it took me a while even then to like get warm, and I couldn't really drink much at all because everything was frozen. So luckily my water did start to thaw out eventually, and I could drink something. But just kind of trudging along, and for the first time on trail, I wasn't having fun. I mean, I don't know if it's fair to say I wasn't having fun, like, because I've been in places like that before on trail where it was like, okay, this is type 2 fun. This isn't the greatest. Like when I was in a windstorm, I was not in the best mood, but I never wanted to get off trail throughout the whole time. I mean, I was on day 171 at that point, so I made it through most of the trail. But at that point, I just like had the first thought of wanting to get off trail. And I didn't want to take that lightly because that's what my gut was telling me. And so I ended up telling Calzone and Steve, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I want to give it some more time. I want to give it a couple more days, but I might get off trail. Because, you know, I think making these decisions, you know, you shouldn't make these decisions lightly. And it depends on why you're hiking. So that's something, you know, if a hiker's going to make a big decision like getting off trail, you know, you should think about it. So I had to think about, okay, why am I doing this? Personally, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to honor a loved one, or am I doing this to prove something to myself? Am I doing this to get over a bad breakup? Like, you know, there's so many reasons why people get on trail. And for me personally, I was on trail to enjoy myself. This is kind of, you know, I'm lucky to be able to do this as kind of a vacation where I'm enjoying myself, even though days are hard. So at that point, it's like, well, if I'm doing this to enjoy myself, and I've been enjoying myself for the most part for 171 days, and I've made it through to this point, why would I go on at this right now if I hate my life? I mean, to be perfectly honest. So thinking about that, and so I told my trail family members how I was feeling, and Calzone was actually kind of feeling the same way, and Steve wasn't ready to get off trail at that point. So but we wanted to give it some more time. So continued hiking, and we had, that heart to heart, which was good, because it's important if you're hiking with other people to, tell them how you feel. So kept on hiking, and we got really close to Carson Pass, and that's a pretty big like freeway. Well, not freeway, but just like a highway, a 2-lane highway or 3-lane highway or whatever. So we're like, okay, if we, keep hiking for the next, I think at that point there were 3 more miles to the highway. If we're still miserable, we can always get a hitch back to Tahoe using that road. So hiked, and then we hiked over this larger hill, and after that there was like an expansive view of where we were about to go, and it was this like mountain range right after Carson Pass going southbound, and it was covered in what looked to be like deep snow. And at that moment I just knew that my journey was over at that point. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I thought I was going to be giving it another couple days. But seeing that, I knew I didn't want to hike in it. I did not want to hike in conditions like that, and it wasn't really what I was expecting. So it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I knew I was done for the year. I was done on the PCT. So it was actually pretty heartbreaking realization for me, and it was sudden. So at that point I was kind of like lagging behind, hiking kind of slow, and so I just started like sobbing by myself while I was hiking, because I knew it was over. It's still like hard to think about even right now too, but so I just knew. And so when I caught up with my group near Carson Pass, we had a little sit break, and I told them like, hey guys, you saw this view in front of us, right? I can't do this. Like I do not desire to hike through this. So I will be hitching back into Tahoe. And so Calzone was feeling the same way. And we were kind of like all a little bit quiet and solemn at that point, just because we knew we were gonna have to part ways with Steve, and he was gonna head out alone, in hopes of finding people to hike with after. So we had our goodbyes, and we took some photos, and it ended on a positive note though, because we were like cheering Steve on, of course. Ended up hitching back in. It took a while for us to get a hitch back in as well. So a lady that we saw on the trail actually was driving out, and she gave us a ride, luckily. So that was very nice of her. But anyway, hitched back into Tahoe, and then this is pretty much the last day that we had on the PCT, so that's where I'm going to end. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth to future plans, because it's not over for me or for Calzone, and for some of our other trail family members that got off trail before us. So I'm going to give you guys an update on like future plans in this video, so stay tuned. But that was kind of the last 3 days on trail. Not what I was expecting, but that's how the PCT is and the trail provides. So all in all, I'm glad I did what I did, because of the reasons why I personally was hiking. It wasn't in alignment with how I wanted to hike. So everything's all good. And again, I'll go over this in my future plans, little blurb, but I'm excited for what's to come. So after this, I'm going to do a little another gear update. There wasn't a ton to update on, but and then I'm gonna give you some ideas of what's in store for the future. So stay tuned for that. gear update for week 25. So there wasn't a ton to that happened, I guess, with my gear. Except I just introduced like the bear canister. I think I went over this in week 24 as well, but had some winter gear stuff come in that I had to pack. So added that to my repertoire in my pack. And then the only other thing is my tent, which I'm in right now. My tent has some more holes in them. So that's something I'm gonna deal with when I get back home. I'm gonna send my copper spur to Big Agnes to have them fix the zipper, which I've gone over in previous videos, and kind of the holes. I might just patch up the holes with some tape or whatever, because that's not as big of a deal because the holes aren't very big. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the gear update for week 25. And there will be future gear updates next year when I continue on the PCT. So stay tuned for that, and I'm gonna quickly give you guys an insight into what's in store for the future next. Okay, so what's in store for the future? Since I have 200, how many miles do I have? 267, I believe, more miles on the PCT to go. So 89% is complete for me in 2019. So the plan, which I've talked extensively with my trail family about this, plan is to finish those miles in 2020. So in a lot of ways, everything happened in a good way, I think, because the journey's not over for me. I'm not done with the PCT this year. So I get to look forward to going back. So I'm very excited about that. So Calzone and I are planning to go back in maybe July, end of July, beginning of August next year or something like that, just to miss the mosquitoes. Because we have to finish a decent sized section of the PCT. So I might actually do the whole Sierra section again, just because I think I will have the time to do it. So I might do like 500 miles on the PCT next year, just because it's so beautiful, and I don't mind retracing my steps. And I do have some friends, like I think TW, I'm gonna try to convince him to come back from Germany because he needs to do the Sierra section as well. Calzone wants to do that. And Steve, even though Steve, he ended up finishing the PCT, so congrats, Stevie Wonder. He might come back as well and join us for parts of that. And then also our friend Kool-Aid is interested in joining us for part of our journey next year as well. Friend Snickers, I think, might join us, and also our friends 3Bean and Foxtail might come. So there's a lot of people I'm trying to convince to like come back to the trail, the people who didn't finish the whole thing. So anyway, it's going to be kind of like a reunion, hopefully, if we can kind of time things right. So we'll see what happens with that. But I am going to continue doing these videos. So I finished on week 25, so I'm going to continue that next year when I get started again. So I'll start with week 26 and go forward, just like the way I've been doing the videos now. And we're not sure if we're going to go southbound yet or not. So I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. So very exciting stuff coming up for next year. And in the meantime, I'm going to be giving you guys some in-depth gear updates with what really worked for me on the PCT. And if you've been following along since the beginning, I did a lot of in-depth gear posts about exactly what I was bringing at the beginning of the trail. So now I'm going to update you guys on, you know, what worked, what didn't, what I ended up with, and what I ended up sending home or putting in a hiker box. So stay tuned for those videos too, because I think they'll be very helpful for future PCT hikers or just future backpackers, future AT hikers. I think it would help anybody who's really into backpacking or hiking. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I also want to show you where I am right now. So I am in my tent, but I'm in my backyard. So surprise, yeah, in my backyard. And the reason why I'm in my tent in my backyard right now, it's about a month and a half since I've been off trail. So I've really put this off because I think it's because I didn't want this to be over. I didn't want the journey to be over, and so I just put it off for so long. But finally giving you guys an update, so thank you for being patient. But anyway, I'm in my tent right now because Calzone and I are hosting a virtual camp out for 2019 PCT hikers, because there's some kind of like a little phenomenon, I guess you could say, when thru hikers are done with their hikes, they go through a period of depression, post-trail. It's called post-trail depression. So and I can attest to that because it's been a month and a half since I've been off trail, and I have felt it. So Calzone and I came up with the idea of having a virtual camp out so we could, you know, do whatever we wanted to do that made us feel closer to the trail. So I personally decided to put up my tent in the backyard, and since I live in California, it's still like decent weather to be doing this. So set up my tent, and gonna share on Facebook and Instagram kind of like how I've been feeling, trying to connect with other hikers and just support them. So it's kind of like a little support system that we're hopefully creating and getting hikers to call their trail families and that sort of thing. So that's why I'm in my tent right now. And I thought it would be appropriate to you know, film the last week update for my PCT journey for 2019. So anyway, lots more to come actually on just kind of, I think I'll probably do something about post-trail depression, a video, lots of gear videos coming up, and then next year around July, I'll be continuing to post my PCT journey video. So starting with week 26 and moving forward from there, hopefully to finish the whole trail. So I am doing what people call a thru-in-2, so thru-hike in 2 years. So 89% of the hike for me is done, and then I just have a little bit more to go. So exciting stuff to come, and I hope you guys follow along, and I hope you've enjoyed the journey so far, and I really hope future hikers learn something from this, and that's part of going back to like my very first video that I filmed. One of my goals was to give insight to future thru hikers and future backpackers. So I hope that I've met that goal by helping even just one person out there to feel more comfortable backpacking and thru hiking. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and you have not seen the last of me, so I will see you guys soon. That was pretty good.